Welcome everyone. It is week number 7 and it's a big week for us in our term. This is where you have your big project due, so I'll be talking about that. But let me get started. I told you, what was it, last week, that I was out of town, and this is what I was taking pictures of while I was out of town. These are dolphins that are strand feeding. It's a particular behavior that's only seen along the coast of South Carolina and maybe a little bit further, but really only around South Carolina. It's a learned behavior that mothers pass on to their children in the dolphin world, and they work together cooperatively to herd schools of fish up onto the shore, and that's where they catch them and eat them. They always come up on their right sides, which is kind of interesting. But that's what I saw. This is what I took a picture of this past week. So let's see what we've got going on. So last week you learned about asexual and sexual reproduction and the advantages and disadvantages of each. Sexual reproduction is really important because there's a mixing of genes from the two parents in the hopes that some offspring will be able to survive. You learned about heredity, especially in the lab. You grew those fast plant seeds. And we looked at the nature versus nurture issue, very important. Do we know the answer to this now? How much your genes contribute to you as being an organism and how much your environment contributes? No, we do not know the answer. We do know that both of them are involved in producing you as an organism, whatever you are, from bacteria all the way up to human beings. And we talked some about biodiversity, which is, of course, extremely important in the world of biology. Okay, this week, you need to take a look at least skim through chapters 44 and 46. For all of you environmental scientists, these are two of the most important chapters for you, so please do take a look at them. Ecology is the study of organisms and their environment and how they interact with each other and with their environment. Chapter 46 is about ecosystems, and that is the environment along with the community of organisms that live there. So this is really what you study in environmental science, ecology, which studies ecosystems. All right, read the Module 7 overview and watch the video, and I'm going to post a link to another one about red tides in Florida, because the video that you watch is about Lake Erie and how it's eutrophying over time and how we can help the health of that ecosystem. So anyway, watch that video. You have an optional discussion board posting that you can post to. Some of you are doing projects on eutrophication, so jump right in here and help us with the discussion board posting. So you're going to discuss eutrophication, the importance of the phosphorus cycle, and where does phosphorus come from in the world. We have had phosphorus mining in our state in South Carolina, even as far back as the end of the 1600s and the early 1700s, because phosphorus is so valuable. You're going to discuss waste and also the energy nutrient flow through ecosystems and food webs. Okay, so that's the discussion board postings. They are optional because you have a lot to do this week in the form of that final project. So let's talk about it for a minute. One thing, it is worth a tremendous number of your points in this term, 260 points out of 1,000. That is more than 1/4 of your grade in this class. So be sure and do a good job on this because it counts for so much. Plus, you already have all the sections graded. You have all 3 milestones graded already, and that's what makes up your final project. So you can do very well if you do these things. This is a slide presentation, as if you were making this presentation to an audience. Now, you're going to have an audience of one. I realize that. But still, you're going to make this presentation as if it were to an audience. So you need some slides, PowerPoint, or something like that, Google Slides, but it has to be a slide presentation. Your speaker's notes are what you would be saying in front of this audience. They don't appear on the slide. They appear at the bottom of the slide, where if you were using PowerPoint, for example, you could read what was on the bottom of the slide to help you get through your information. The speaker's notes are important because they explain all the bullets that you have on the slides. There's more explanation in the speaker's notes because remember, this is what you would be saying. Do not put the speaker's notes in another document. That means I have to open like 3 different things at one time to take a look at everything. So please put the speaker's notes at the bottom of the slides. I know some instructors want separate documents. That's wasteful. You don't need to do that. Just put them on the slides at the bottom where it says speaker's notes. Include all 3 milestones. I cannot say this enough. I can guarantee you I will have 5 students this term out of our class who will forget one of the milestones. Wow, does that impact your grade a lot when you don't have sections in your final project. So don't forget, all 3 of your milestones have to be included here. All the sections from the introduction to the analysis section, to the methods section, to the ethical perspectives, to where this happens. You know, all the different sections go into this in the same order that you did them in with the milestones. Correct anything that you need to correct. I have made suggestions, comments. I've taken off points for things that were missing or not correct. So go back and look at all your milestones and fix what you need to fix. Because you know what I'm looking for. I've already graded all of this. So look at the corrections and make your corrections. Include imagery, graphics, and data to help support your arguments about this particular problem or issue. This is important. You don't want to just pop up slides just full of words. And oh my goodness, and the worst thing is, if you've ever had a presenter who just reads exactly what's on the slide. I can read, you know. I hate those kinds of presentations, but I've had them before. I didn't make them, but other people have made them. So you need something to look at. You need some imagery to give you impact for this particular problem. You know, like when they have commercials about global warming, climate change, and they show a real skinny polar bear floating on a tiny little block of ice out in the middle of the ocean. Effective? Absolutely. So include imagery, graphics, data to help back up what you're saying. Okay? Very important. Label all of your sections. You can't just flip through this thing and just ramble on and on and on about all the different topics, because I don't know that you know which sections you're covering. Okay? So you have to label your slides and go in order. Introduction, and then you have topics, and then it's where does it happen? How does it happen? Who does it affect? Okay? On through all the rest of the milestones. Label, 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 label. I cannot tell you this enough because I'm going to be using the grading rubric, which I'm going to put a link to in my announcements, and I have to see these sections so that I can grade them. If I don't know what you're talking about in the section, then how am I supposed to know which section to put it under? Okay? Okay, and a couple more hints, because I've had a few little instances of this already with that last milestone that I graded. You've got to make high contrast in your slides. So, for example, on this slide of mine, it's a completely white background and it's black words. All right? Nothing funky. Don't have all the print all glommed up together in a section. Use bullet points, because remember, in the speaker's notes you are explaining everything, so just have the highlights listed in the bullet points, and make this readable and enjoyable, really, because that's what you're doing when you're sharing something with an audience. You're making this an enjoyable, informational presentation, so they walk away from it and say, wow, that was awesome. That changed my mind about something. Okay, so anyway, if you have any questions, all you need to do is ask me. Just email me. One other thing I wanted to emphasize is that Sunday, October the 24th is the deadline for you to turn in everything in this course, because after that point at midnight, the course is closed to you, and you can't ask me to put anything in because I can't. It is closed except for the grading. So I just wanted to make sure that you remember that deadline, because some of you have to get in a few little extra things. So just a reminder about that. And otherwise, there's my name, Dr. Sigmon, m.sigmon@snhu.edu. I'm here for you. Just let me know if you have any questions or you're having any issues, okay? I hope that you have a wonderful week and get this final project done and turned in so that I can get it graded. All right, and I hope that you've learned a lot about your final project subject, and you've enjoyed this, because it really is interesting, and I've seen some great presentations so far. So have a good week.